Somewhere in your skull, right now, roughly 86 billion neurons are firing in patterns of such staggering complexity that no computer on Earth can fully simulate it. And yet, none of those neurons are you. A single neuron does not think, it does not feel, it does not know it exists. It simply receives electrical signals, processes them according to simple chemical rules, and passes the result along to its neighbors. There is no neuron in your brain responsible for your sense of self. There is no neuron that contains your memories of childhood, your love for the people closest to you, the specific quality of your personality. If you examined any single neuron in isolation under the most powerful microscope ever built, you would find nothing resembling a person. So where are you? This is one of the oldest and strangest questions in philosophy and neuroscience, and Carl Sagan spent decades thinking about it. The answer, once you really absorb it, will change the way you understand what you are and what you are not.
Most people, without ever examining the assumption closely, believe that they are their brain. That somewhere inside the 3 pounds of tissue inside your skull, there is a thing, a self, a soul, a you, sitting at the controls, watching through your eyes, making decisions, experiencing your life. This intuition feels obviously true. It feels like the most basic fact about your existence. But neuroscience has spent the last century slowly dismantling it, piece by piece, and what has emerged in its place is far stranger and, in its own way, far more beautiful. You are not your brain in the way that a driver is not a car. The brain is not a vessel containing you. The brain is not the location where you live. The relationship is far more intimate and far more strange than that. You are not a thing that has a brain. You are something that your brain does.
Here is the key insight that Sagan returned to often, drawing on decades of research into the nature of mind. Consciousness is not located in any single part of the brain. It is not a substance, not a place, not an object you could point to. It is a pattern, a specific, dynamic, constantly changing arrangement of electrical and chemical activity distributed across billions of neurons and trillions of connections. Think of it this way. A wave in the ocean is not made of any particular water molecules. The water molecules are constantly changing, flowing through the wave and out the other side, while the wave itself maintains its shape, its motion, its identity as a wave. The wave is a pattern of movement, not a collection of specific molecules. You are something similar. The specific atoms that make up your neurons are constantly being replaced through normal cellular turnover, through metabolism, through the ongoing chemistry of being alive. The specific molecules in your brain today are not the same molecules that were there a year ago. And yet you persist. Your memories persist. Your personality persists. What persists is not the material, it is the pattern. The specific organization of connections, the particular way information flows through your neural architecture, the dynamic, ever-shifting dance of electrical activity that constitutes, somehow, the experience of being you. This is why you can lose individual neurons, which happens constantly throughout your entire life, without losing yourself. The pattern is robust, even though the components are disposable. You are not the bricks. You are the building they happen to be arranged into, and even that building is constantly being rebuilt, brick by brick, while somehow remaining recognizably itself. Some of the most revealing evidence for this comes from what happens when the brain is damaged or altered. Patients who experience certain types of brain injury can undergo profound changes to their personality, their memory, their sense of self. Changes so dramatic that family members sometimes describe the person as having become someone else entirely. This would be impossible if you were a fixed, indivisible soul sitting somewhere inside the brain, untouched by its physical state. It makes complete sense if you are the pattern of activity that the brain produces, a pattern that can be altered, damaged, or transformed by altering the physical system that generates it. Consider also the phenomenon of split brain patients, individuals who, for medical reasons, have had the connection between their brain's two hemispheres severed. In certain experimental conditions, these patients can exhibit what appears to be two semi-independent streams of awareness, each hemisphere processing information and making decisions somewhat independently of the other. This raises an uncomfortable question. If the connection between the hemispheres can be cut, and something like two partial selves can emerge from what was previously one, was there ever really a single unified you in the way we intuitively assume? Or was unity itself simply a product of the connections that allowed the hemispheres to function as one coordinated system? The evidence consistently points in the same direction. There is no single place where you reside. There is no central command center, no homunculus sitting in a control room behind your eyes. There is only the integrated activity of a vast distributed network, producing something that feels unified from the inside, even though the underlying machinery is far more fragmented and far more constructed than that feeling suggests.
This leads to one of the most unsettling and ultimately liberating discoveries in modern neuroscience. Your sense of being a single, continuous, unified self is not a passive reflection of an underlying reality. It is an active construction. Your brain builds the feeling of being you the same way it builds your perception of color or your sense of where your limbs are in space through ongoing, largely unconscious processes that integrate vast amounts of information into a coherent, useful, but ultimately simplified model. This model is remarkably good. It is good enough to let you plan for the future, remember the past, maintain relationships across decades, and feel a continuous identity from childhood through old age. But it is a model. It is a story your brain tells about itself, built from memory, sensation, narrative, and social feedback, continuously updated and continuously, subtly rewritten. This does not mean you are not real. Your experience is completely real. Perhaps the only thing you can be absolutely certain is real. But what you are is not what you have always assumed. You are not a fixed essence inhabiting a body. You are an ongoing process, a pattern of activity that your brain generates and continuously revises, moment by moment, for as long as the underlying biological system continues to function. Sagan believed that understanding this truth about consciousness had profound consequences for how we should live. If you are not a fixed, unchanging essence, then the rigid identities you cling to, I am just an anxious person, I have always been like this is simply who I am, are not the unchangeable facts they feel like. They are patterns, and patterns, while often stable and resistant to change, are not permanent in the way a soul would be permanent. They can shift. They have shifted throughout your life in response to experience, relationships, deliberate effort, and circumstance. The person you were at 7 years old generated a substantially different pattern than the one generating your experience right now, and yet you call both of them you. This also reframes the boundary between you and other people. If consciousness is a pattern rather than a fixed substance, the sharp line you imagine between your mind and the minds of others becomes less absolute than it feels. You are not a sealed container of selfhood entirely separate from everything around you. You are a process embedded in and shaped by your relationships, your culture, your environment, a pattern that exists partly within your skull and partly in the space between you and everyone else who has ever influenced how that pattern formed. And it reframes death, too, though Sagan was always careful and honest here, never offering false comfort. The specific pattern that constitutes your consciousness will at some point stop being sustained by the biological system that generates it. That is simply a fact, and pretending otherwise does not serve the truth. But the atoms that participated in generating that pattern do not disappear. They return to the universe, as they always were destined to. And the effects of your particular pattern, the people you shaped, the ideas you contributed, the changes you made to the world during the time your pattern was active, those effects persist and propagate outward long after the specific neural activity that generated them has ceased. You are not a soul trapped temporarily in a body waiting to be released. You are a temporary, extraordinary configuration of matter that the universe assembled, capable of experience, capable of wonder, capable of changing the patterns of everyone you encounter for as long as the configuration holds.
I want you to sit with something for a moment. Right now, in this exact instant, 86 billion neurons in your skull are coordinating in a pattern so specific, so unrepeatable, so staggeringly complex that nothing else like it has ever existed in the history of the universe, and nothing else like it will ever exist again. That pattern is producing the experience of you reading these words, forming thoughts, feeling whatever you are feeling as you process this idea. You are not hiding somewhere behind that pattern, watching it from a safe distance. You are the pattern. You are what happens when matter organizes itself with sufficient complexity to become aware of its own existence and ask questions about what it is. This is not a diminishment. Sagan never believed that discovering you are a pattern rather than a soul made you less significant. If anything, it made you more remarkable. A soul would be static, given, fixed, unchanging by definition. A pattern is dynamic. It is something that the universe is actively doing right now, through you, and that it has never done in exactly this way before. You are not a passenger in your brain. You are not a ghost haunting a machine. You are the machine, doing something so extraordinary that the universe spent 13.8 billion years and produced trillions of stars before it managed to arrange matter in a way capable of generating you. The pattern will not last forever. No pattern does. But for as long as it holds, for as long as those 86 billion neurons keep firing in their impossibly specific configuration, you are here. You are the universe organized into a shape that can wonder at its own existence. That is not a tragedy. That is the most extraordinary thing that has ever happened.